Hi, everybody, and welcome to my literacy autobiography and first screencast-o-matic. Let's try it out. Okay, so these are my grandparents. They are booksellers. So I grew up always exposed to towers and towers of books. This influenced me in a way that I loved the feeling of books. I loved holding them, I loved seeing them on the shelves, and because my grandparents had a passion for books, it kind of seeped into me by osmosis, I feel. And in my future classrooms, I hope to have a lot of books surrounding the students so they can start to get curious about literature. A negative experience in my literacy journey was saying the letter R. I would pronounce it as awa. I almost had to go to speech therapy, but my parents said, oh, she'll grow out of it. And surely enough, I did. But I had a pretty traumatic experience singing the ABCs with one of my friend's parents. We were singing together, and then when it got to R, of course, I said awa. He stopped and said, what did you say? Awa. And he tried to correct me by saying, no, it's R. And I tried so hard to reproduce that sound, but I had so much trouble. And he just laughed, and I felt so embarrassed and ashamed. And really, to me, like, that shows me as a future educator to never laugh at somebody's mistakes, or if they're having trouble with something, be patient with them. Because I really felt like a sitting duck. There's nothing I could do at that moment to automatically say R perfectly, and he just laughed, and I don't want to be that teacher. Okay, let's go on to the next one. In junior high school, we had 60 seconds to do timed readings, and in those 60 seconds, we'd have a word count to see how fast you could read. For me, I felt this was way too much pressure, and I sacrificed my reading comprehension for speed. So I felt like this wasn't an effective way to help me learn. It felt like a race, and I think when I become a teacher, I want to give my students enough time based on their needs to feel successful. Junior high school, we had a poetry book that we wrote. I have mine here still. I had such a positive experience with writing. I think it was the first time I really felt connected to creative writing and that it was a possibility for me to get into. I wrote this short poem called Happiness. I'll read it to you now. There once was a bee who loved the sea. Although there weren't bunches of flowers, he could stay there for hours, for it brought him glee. How nice. At the same time, this whole poetry experience was slightly negative because we gave awards for the best poems, and I never got an award. So I felt very, disappointed in myself. So in my future classrooms, no prizes for the best this or that. That just makes one person feel good and the rest feel pretty bad. In high school, I made one of my best friends, Ian Davies. He's fantastic, and he's so intelligent and exposed me to these famous writers that maybe would have taken me many more years to discover on my own. He showed me Ginsberg, Che Guevara, T.S. Eliot, and Goethe. Really exposed a lot of great literature to me, as well as my inspiring teacher, Mr. Johnson. He was the one that really got me into this teaching profession, as one day he overheard me talking about teaching as a possible career path. He pulled me aside after hearing that and told me very sincerely, Carly, if you want to teach, that is what you should do because you have the qualities it takes to become a great teacher. You're compassionate, you care about others. I'm here to support you if that's what you want to go into. This is a picture of us years after high school. He still serves as a fantastic mentor to me. After high school, I found two loves of my literature life, Les Miserables and East of Eden. I started Les Miserables in a Starbucks and finished East of Eden in a Starbucks crying. I just noticed that similar tie there. Moving on, I continued creative writing after writing that 8th grade poetry book, and decided in college it was time to share. So I used Tumblr as a platform of sharing and went to these Queen Bee open mics to share as well and got some positive feedback and gave me some confidence and freedom of expression, which is essential in my future classrooms to open up the floor to anybody who wants to read their essays, reflections, ideas, thoughts, etc. And finally, one of the most impactful experiences I had was going to Japan to teach English. This forced me to learn grammatical structures of English and made me really fall in love with little nuances in English like idioms, patterns in English like prefixes, suffixes, root words. I find that all to be super fascinating, and I didn't discover that until I started teaching English as a language. Now for my creative writing, I tend to share on Instagram with the hashtag words as a reference to Hamlet. He says, words, words, words. Yeah. Now here we are, and the current chapter is now at San Diego State, learning more and more about literacy and how to teach English. And I'm really happy to be here. Peace.